Welcome to part 27 of our series, Secrets of Glessner House. Today, we are going to explore perhaps the most unusual aspect of the plan of the house, the long servants' passage that runs along the north side of the building. Glessner House is situated on a large corner lot, 176 feet deep. But the long side of the house faces north, a concern for a winter residence. Architect Henry Hobson Richardson made the bold decision to turn the main rooms away from the street to face south into a courtyard illuminated with an abundance of sunlight. The result was the placement of the long servants' passage along the north side of the house. John Glessner recalled an early conversation with Richardson about windows. Quote, "He asked if I had moral courage to build a house without windows on the street. And thinking it would only be on paper first, and I could tear that up if I didn't like it, I said yes. He did put only small windows on the north side of the house because they were to light only a narrow passage." Unquote. Glessner continues, "When first built, the house was the subject of much remark by passers-by because of the narrow windows in its north side along 18th Street. Many of the remarks were negative, as people didn't understand the brilliant plan Richardson had created. Terms such as fortress and prison were often used to describe the house, and several people did comment that it would take courage to build it. The windows were indeed narrow. They were deeply set into openings cut into the granite, which are only 17 inches wide. The portion of the window sash filled with glass is just over 9 inches wide. The narrow windows provided another important advantage for a winter residence. The cold winds of winter come from the north, so having minimal window openings on this side of the house minimizes the impact of the winter weather on the interior. Further, the passage provides an effective buffer between the exterior and the family rooms which face south. This is quite evident in the winter months when there is a noticeable temperature differential between the passages and the main rooms of the house, in spite of the fact that the passages are heated. Here we see Richardson's original sketch of the first floor plan, executed while dining with the Glessners in May 1885, just one day after seeing the lot they had purchased for their new home. Although placing the servants' passage on the street side along the north, clearly seen on the right side of the diagram, was radical, it was already part of the concept to keep the servants as invisible as possible. This shows a later version of the floor plan more fully developed. Along the top of the plan, you will see the long passage divided into two sections. The left section is specifically identified as the servants' corridor, whereas the right section is called the house corridor, indicating slightly different purposes, as we will soon see. The terms corridor and passage were utilized interchangeably early on, but by the time the house plans were finished, the term passage was specifically used to define the portion used only by the servants. The mezzanine level of the house is shown here, and again the passage, this time identified as the service corridor, can be seen at the top of the plan. The upper corridor, and in fact all of the servants' rooms, seen at the left, were not at the same level as the main rooms of the house, due to the lower ceiling heights in these spaces, hence their location in what was referred to as the mezzanine. This cross-section of the house shows that difference in ceiling heights. On the first floor, the passage seen on the left is only 9 feet in height, whereas the adjacent parlor on the right is 10 feet. On the second floor, the floor of the passage is lower, and the height of the space is only 6 feet 10 inches. By comparison, the guest bedroom on the right has 9-foot ceilings. This notable change in levels results in the need for 2 stairs to be added into the plan when going from the servants' passage back into the main part of the house. The color-coded plan shown here portrays the first floor as it was ultimately built. The long hallway shown in light blue, and now identified as corridor on the left and passage on the right, is 4 feet wide and extends nearly 57 feet from the main hall back to the female servants' entrance. The hallway provided access to closets, the dining room, kitchen, and a stairway to the second floor female servants' quarters. The hallway on the second floor was laid out in a similar fashion, again beginning on the left at the main hall, the lower floor corresponding to the landing on the main stairs. The corridor also provided access to the stairs leading to the third floor butler's apartment, more closets, including a cedar closet, and the entrance to the female servants' wing. An extension of the hallway leading south, and raised up 2 stairs, since it is over the dining room, provided access to 2 large walk-in closets for family and servant linen, and Francis Glessner's conservatory. Let's explore the first floor hallway in some detail. We start here at the far west end of the servants' passage, which was accessed by an exterior door set beneath this dramatic arch. This entry was used primarily by female servants, but it also functioned to receive deliveries and tradesmen, and as such had its own address, 35 18th Street. The west half of the hallway, the true servants' passage, is basically an extension of the kitchen area and is finished in exactly the same materials, encaustic tile on the floor, glazed brick on the walls, and a soapstone finish on the ceiling. The east half of the hallway, identified earlier on the plan as the house corridor, has a much different appearance, indicating it was used by servants, family, and guests. Materials here include an oak floor with wood wainscoting extending 4 feet up the plaster walls. One use of the hallway was that it provided easy access to the guest bathroom, seen in the distance, a convenience when the dining room was in use. An important function of the hallway was its access to the dining room, as this is how food was brought into and out of the room. This was a much longer distance than carrying the food into the dining room directly from the kitchen pantry, but this plan completely separated the rooms, eliminating the noise and heat that would have emanated from there. A few years after moving into the house, the Glessners added the tall standing screen seen just inside the doorway, to partially block the view of the hallway and to reduce drafts when the door was opened. The second floor corridor was finished off in a similar fashion with the wood wainscoting, but was more than 2 feet shorter than the hall below, to accommodate the angle of the north-facing roof directly above. Closets were also located here. The closets on both levels, seen here on the right, are more than 12 feet wide and were accessed with a series of 4 doors. It was here that coats for family and guests would have been kept. The closets are very shallow, only 10.5 inches deep. The house was designed a full 15 years before the coat hanger was invented, so as seen here, coats were hung on hooks. A shelf directly above could be used for hats and other items. Adjacent to the closets on both floors was an electrical panel containing the fuses for the rooms on that floor. The electrical panels were contained behind doors mimicking the wainscoting and covered on the inside with metal to make them fireproof. The door shown here was at some point cut down. No doubt it would have originally concealed the entire electrical panel and extended between the floor and the rail above. The photo on the right shows some of the original wood conduit installed in the house for the electrical wiring, conveniently run through the adjacent closets. Another feature of the first floor corridor was a speaking tube, located at the east end near the entrance to the main hall. The tube ran to the stable, so that the butler or footman could easily call when a carriage was needed at the front door. The wall on which it was located sustained extensive plaster damage many years ago, and during repairs the tube was removed. It would have looked similar to this example from a house built in Indiana the same year as Glessner House. The servants' passage contains two items which at first glance are hard to identify. In this image, you will see a long copper duct extending from the floor to ceiling, and to its right, a wood channel mounted to the wall. That channel would have contained the main electrical line that connected to the electric meter, located on the glazed brick wall directly above. Holes in the wall show where it would have been mounted. The electric meter reader would have entered through the tradesman's door seen earlier. The copper duct is a bit of a mystery. There is no reference to it in the building plans or specifications, so appears to be a later modification. It is clearly meant to connect the basement to the second floor hallway. A clue to its function is the basement space located directly underneath. On the right is a cast iron grill covering an opening in the ceiling that corresponds to the bottom of the duct. The wooden platform shown on the left appears to have been built to accommodate an additional piece of heating equipment. The best guess is that additional heat was needed in the second floor hallway or adjacent spaces, and this was the only way to accomplish that, as the wall on which it is mounted is the solid brick chimney stack servicing the dining room fireplace. With that mystery potentially solved, that concludes this installment of Secrets. We hope you have enjoyed learning more about the servants' passage and how carefully Richardson considered the floor plan and circulation patterns of a house occupied by 4 family members and their live-in staff of 8. Tune in next time when another secret will be revealed.